It was breakfast with Fulu and Valentine, but Fulu's traveled, so I'm solo here today. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by our analysts in the studio with us, Ugo Dre from Naira. Good morning, Ugo.
Morning, bro. Morning, Lagos.
Good to have you. Mr. Ireti Bakare, Yusuf, how's your week been?
Busy.
You've been making a lot of money, huh?
Oh, I wish. I've been missing you guys.
Well, good to have you. And you can find her on Twitter, social media platforms actually, at CCOG Lagos. And Funmi Odude is here as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Funmi. How you feeling? How you feeling? 0981. Please send your contributions there. You can also send a message to us on Twitter. Use the hashtag freshlypressed981. It's Twitter at smooth981fm. On YouTube, we're streaming live, so you can listen and watch live there, and also leave your comments on that platform. It's youtube.com/smooth91fm. Lagos. We'll start up with a story from Punch newspaper. Federal government should not build ranches with public funds, as a request from the Southern and Middle Belt leaders. As we go into this story, Funmi, the Southern Middle Belt Leaders Forum, they said it is opposed to the use of public funds to set up ranches in 10 states, as announced by the federal government. They described the decision as vexatious. They said, if you're providing this kind of funds or facilities or amenities, really, to people who do not pay taxes, that is so unfair to the southern people.
Yes, but beyond the payment of taxes, I would like to read the quote. First and foremost, it's important to know that they are not opposed to the idea of ranching. They said from the 2014 National Conference, it's already been recommended that ranching be done, as it's been done in all civilized countries. So they're not they're not opposed to the idea of ranching. What they are opposed to is spending 179 billion naira to build the ranches, and this is what they said. They consider it a reward to the herders for the killing that they've done. So, and I'm quoting the SMBLF, and they said they have killed enough to beat the country into pacification mode, and this can only encourage other people to arm themselves, cause sufficient killings to get an undue concession. What would our society become if fishermen, farmers, and people in other trades begin to cause bloodbath? So federal governments could give them special consideration. Now, we've discussed this several times, and yes, we really need to stop the killing, but there's also the issue of, is this a short-term measure, or are we looking at the big picture? So are we really conceding in order to get these people to stop the killing? And there is a vital part of it that I get two feelers, and there's the feeler of these people maintain that they are nomadic in nature. Do they want ranching?
Do they?
Yes.
Is that really what they want?
That's the
Plus, on the side of the president, it seems to say, I mean, he started the administration by saying, I belong to nobody and I belong to everybody. Given the general perception that he is
Which
there.
was copied, by the way. Plagiarism,
he's
shall we say?
He's not partisan, he's not biased. And then as it now, this seems like, because of the framework that he's built this funds for, the 178 billion naira, he said is in two trenches. One will be released at this time.
Before the end of this administration.
Exactly. And then before he wraps up in 2019 for the next 10 years.
Well, coming to the aid of businesses is not a new thing for the government. It's the
businesses that pay tax.
It's the motives behind it that people look at.
I think the question is, should governments be coming to the aid of businesses? I understand there are certain businesses which are big employers, which you must, but
Yes.
when we keep giving them money,
bailout funds,
but it's becoming habitual in this country, and you start to ask yourself, what is the value of that to us, the taxpayers? I'm not saying they don't pay tax, but we, the ordinary taxpayers on the streets, are actually very, very important.
Yes, we are. And then the underlying motive behind it. Like
Precisely.
I said, when it begins to look like a reward, just stop.
Yeah.
Because we don't
Or it
have
looks like you're
enough
buying votes.
security.
Let's just talk facts. Come on. We have to keep discussing the truth here. We are in election time. Everybody's trying for votes. Everybody's trying to win favors.
No, but the idea
Could that
of
be what?
ranching-
I'm not saying that's what he's doing. Could that
the
be
idea of
part of
ranching
what
has
he's trying
actually
to
come
do?
up for a while now.
Yes, it has.
It has been on the table for a while now, and the opposition to it has also
Been on the table.
I
Yeah.
am one of those that believe that you should, it actually is perceived as a reward. So we've had the history of a particular group of people, whether it's regional or business
Sectional, yeah.
section.
Yeah.
But we seem to
Those such cowards in this country. These things head on. We keep pussyfooting around it.
All right. Thank you very much. Funmi and Ms. Ireti Bakare Yusuf. The next story is from Punch newspaper as well. Sticking with this paper for this one, 2018 budget difficult to implement with National Assembly alterations, says Buhari. This came as a surprise to a lot of people, but not so many, because now we've seen the impasse between the National Assembly and the executive arm of government, and we've seen how, first of all, this story precisely says President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday lamented that the 2018 appropriation bill, which he signed into law, will be difficult, if not impossible, to implement because of the alterations that the members of the National Assembly effected on the documents he submitted to them. They increased it by 14.5 billion naira. That's a lot of money. Scrapped a lot of major projects, infused theirs for their constituency. Ugo Dre.
First of all, this budget was signed when? Yesterday, June 20th.
Yes.
This is a budget that was submitted to the National Assembly in November 2017. This, guys, is just a perfect example of how democracy can sometimes be a huge disappointment, right? How they can actually let down people. These guys have had 6 full months, 6 months to deal with budget negotiations, and this is something that ordinarily they should have done between November and January. But of course, we have a very personally highly irresponsible legislative system, and we've had this for a while. But now back to the story. So the government is accusing the National Assembly firstly of increasing their own budget from 125 billion to 140 billion. As far as I'm concerned, that's not a lot. They can actually deal with it among themselves, and this is National Assembly. They've been doing this for a while. Secondly, accuse them of injecting 6,403 projects of their own, amounting to about 578 billion. But you know what? This is actually within the purview of the federal government. They can decide not to cash back those projects and cash back their own projects. It's something that they can actually do. So it's within their own purview.
But doesn't that, now lead us to duplication of certain funds, certain, implementing what are funds that are actually injected in this constituencies that are under the purview of the state governments themselves?
That's what I'm saying. So the presidency doesn't need to implement it. So the only thing they don't have control over is the National Assembly's budget. So and that one they cash back 100%. For their own constituency projects, they actually don't need to cash back. It's within the purview of the government. And then thirdly, they also said a lot of the projects that were caught, which is the one that I actually think can be politicized, or the President Buhari is actually politicizing, right, to his own benefit, which you can clearly understand, is that they've caught projects around, very sensitive projects around Southeast and South, and he's put it squarely at the National Assembly that, look, you've caught important projects, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Niger Bridge. I mean, these are projects that are, geopolitically sensitive.
Yes.
And the National Assembly pushes back and says, well, they have to balance, the country. They have to balance things that basically alluding that the projects didn't really spread around the country, so they have to balance it. Like I said, this is actually a huge disappointment. I think that this National Assembly prides itself as as a National Assembly that has actually passed a lot of laws over the last 3 years compared to the others. But in terms of fiscal policy, in terms of trying to get this country going economically, they've actually been a snag, right, more than being a catalyst. So this is just I don't think throughout the 4 years of this presidency they've actually passed, or at least the 3 budgets that they have done, they've actually passed any on time. Never.
Yeah, and that's disappointing. Lagos, join us on YouTube. We're streaming live, and please send a message there as well. Is at Smooth 91 FM Lagos. Our next story from ThisDay newspaper has this headline: Impeachment, activists drag Buhari National Assembly to court. So this party is still in the news now. The 2 Nigerian pro-democracy activists, they've dragged the president, Muhammadu Buhari, and the National Assembly to court, urging the court to order the lawmakers to commence the impeachment of the president on 4 counts. Some of which, one, it says on the forged certificate that he forged the certificate he used, that he sent to INEC for that's in contravening the 1999 Constitution. They said the second one was abuse of federal character principle as provided for in Section 14. The third one, the herdsmen killing, he said the killings have not been accounted for. And then the fourth one, he said that they actually alleged that the $496 million that was allotted for the purchase of the Tucano jets were not justifiable.
Okay, so first and foremost, let me explain a bit about the mandamus proceedings that they brought. So it's a form of writ that can be issued by a court to compel a public official to do a duty imposed on him by law to do. And that is the key word, a duty imposed. We know that the National Assembly, they do have the power under the Constitution to commence impeachment proceedings where they feel like the conditions that have been stated in the Constitution has been meted out. But is it a duty imposed on them? I mean, and the Constitution is a bit, the Constitution, the wordings of the Constitution makes it look like it's sort of discretionary.
Yeah.
So the process is quite tedious. The of allegation on gross misconduct, which is another thing that makes impeachment proceedings very tedious in this country. So there's a lot of argument as to what constitutes gross misconduct, because the Constitution itself describes it as a grave violation of the Constitution or any other act or conduct which, in the opinion of the National Assembly, constitutes gross misconduct. So it gives a lot of discretionary powers sort of to the National Assembly.
So in other words, it's vague.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
In a sense, yes. So and then I'm looking at the timing in which this has come. The process itself, assuming that the National Assembly wants to go ahead with the process itself takes months before the conclusion, if you get to that part. So I'm wondering, is this not a little bit too?
How many months do we have left?
I just
Boss, being said, I mean,
pandering.
all right. We'll take your messages in a few minutes here. Neji from Olodia Papa sent this one on WhatsApp, says, good morning. I've always said the National Assembly is the problem of Nigeria. Until we rise up and say no to these people, we will continue to complain. Good morning, guys. This from Chi says, remember the president said the herdsmen are insurgents from Libya and Egypt. So does this imply we're giving foreigners our land for free? That's a question to ponder, food for thought. Next one from Ace in Agor. It says, I beg, forget that I belong to nobody, I belong to everybody's speech. The same person made a statement about 97% and 5% shortly after the previous. Ni Lomo says, good morning all. I believe National Assembly must not be a rubber stamp of presidency. They were all elected to serve Nigerians. Presidency should make electronic copy of the budget available to Nigerians. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Now, the next story is from the Premium Times. All right, so I'll come to you, Mr. Ireti Bakare Yusuf, because you're very passionate about this one. It seems to be a cap on the prevailing problems of sexual harassment in universities. The Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife has dismissed, some people carried it as finally dismissed the lecturer of the institution, Richard Akindele, which demanded sex from a female student to help her improve her grades. We've heard of these details. We're following it for the past couple of weeks. Does this start up a new conversation or reported all the time? Ms. Ireti Bakare Yusuf, where does this take us?
Well, first of all, it's extremely, extremely comforting, because if you remember very much at the beginning of this story, we weren't sure. The university was actually sort of, they were being cagey with their responses. And in fact, they almost even said, they implied at some point that they don't know whether it's the professor's voice, even though the rest of his church people had said it was his voice, etc., etc., although they were blaming it on the devil, poor devil. I do feel sorry for him sometimes. But anyway, so this is fantastic news, honestly. The papers that put the words finally, they actually got it right. It's finally. But what most people don't know, and what sadly hasn't been mentioned in this story, is that Senate last year actually brought out a legislation against this, where actually it's full dismissal. I think it's really quite, quite draconian what they put, and I like it. It's very, very tough. And I have a feeling a certain member of the Senate got involved with this, because after my article came out, a certain media house went to interview the girl and then escalated it to the Senate. And we then suddenly had a total change of conversation. And now, what the things that they're putting in place is really, really good. It's literally about time. Oh, by the way, Miss Monica Osage, whose name is out there, didn't fail the exam that he was claiming she failed. She actually scored 45 I believe, which was a pass mark, was a 45, score 45, which was a pass mark. But he was lying to her that she didn't score 45. And he lied to her that she got 33 or something. Anyway, further down the line, so the university is actually pushing in quite some, actually say some smart policies, and they're uploading the sexual harassment policy on their website. They're now having exactly, you know, but we've got to thank something.
And at some point, they stated that he made an allegation that he brought this harassment case to the attention of his colleagues before the publication, but upon investigation, the VC or the vice chancellor and the executive arm of the university said no, that didn't happen.
He also
all the lecturers
that she was chasing him actually in one of his defense,
and his friends, quote unquote, denied it. Said no, you never told us about this
because it never happened. The university for gross misconduct. So Professor Richard Akindele be dismissed from the services of the university. So they did go to the Senate. And the Senate advised them. It actually says in there.
Is it the University Senate? Or
well, that National Assembly did actually bring out a law last year, which actually makes this. It's specifically targeted at professors, kinky professors like Akindele. And so he was sacked for gross misconduct. They've also taken steps to ensure the total elimination of sexual harassment in the OAU community. The university has a legal duty to prevent sexual and gender-based harassment within the institution and ensure that both men and women are protected from this menace, and thereby provide conducive environment for teaching and learning.
Quick question, Ms. Ireti. Now, when we look at this story, we all know that we've gone through the four walls of the university, and we find out that this is not peculiar to female folk.
Sadly,
even the guys are going through undue pressure to try to impress. You know, by means of maybe bribe or by buying books that are made compulsory, but maybe might not be necessary to the course. Yeah, shouldn't that also get a folk handouts? Thank you.
So true. But let me give you a very, 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 very quick story about it. Well, he did make the papers because actually, anyway. So this poor guy was actually being harassed by the cults. He was being trying to be pulled into the cults, and he wouldn't go in. And it turns out that the lecturer or his chancellor, whatever, the lecturer was actually part of the cults, and he was the one that was actually trying to get him indoctrinated into there. And this guy was brilliant, apparently very, very smart young man. And the lecturer kept failing him. And he said, and so in the end, he actually took on the lecturer, demanded for the remark of all his courses, and he won. But now there was another chancellor or another lecturer who stood in his favor. Well, guess what? That other lecturer then got the sack, which is why it made all the papers. Such an interesting story.
Yeah.
So yes, boys or males do also they are victims of abuse who are men in mind. Sadly, Dave,
would hope that the policies are all inclusive and not just necessarily
restricted.
It's definitely
all
inclusive. I've got a
inclusive.
question though.
Go ahead.
What I didn't really see here is some kind of level, you know, like you said, you started with what next? Is this the beginning?
Yes.
And
where does this conversation? Should it just? Are we closing that chapter?
What's going to happen
Okay,
next?
so this is what you need.
Be dismissal.
This is now the police. That's what I was going. Now the police need to do their job because the university has done their job. I do happen to know that Miss Osage has a lawyer. So whether she intends on seeking prosecution via, the general legal system or not, I don't know. But yes, it's the police. It's now handed over to the police, and the evidence is there. So the police can't ignore. Unfortunately, this happened in Ile-Ife, so it didn't happen in Lagos State. So
moving forward, we hope that other universities adopt this as well, because that policy apparently whistleblower policy. So if you see anything like that happening, you can report to the university. See something, say something. Moving on now very quickly. The newspaper has the story: Nigeria's low tax rate is inconsistent with lifestyles, spending habits of citizens. We know how most people make money, and most of them are not taxable. So exactly how this reflects on the Nigerian system.
He just hit the nail by the time, because I was looking at this story and I'm like, I can see that now tax authorities actually don't get it, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel they actually don't just get it. So the poverty rate in this country is actually very, very high, right? So I think sometimes when you stay in Lagos or in Abuja, you just feel that's Nigeria.
No, you can be disconnected with the reality.
With people who actually, illicit wealth, and you think you get money.
Lagos is like New York, so they come here as they're abroad.
But no, that's not it. So people are actually generally poor in this country. and that people are actually not carrying arms and hitting the streets and making noise and breaking law and order. It's actually because the little money they have, they're using it to eat. So using it to make themselves happy. So if you can't carry that money, I mean, I'm not saying they should evade taxes, but bottom line is that I think our tax authorities actually need to understand the way this economy runs and what actually influences capital creation in Nigeria. If they understand that, then they will better mobilize tax revenue. For now, I don't think they do. Most of about half of this country is actually informal. It's an informal economy. So if half of your country is informal, then you're going to have problems collecting taxes. So they actually should look at the tax collection not against the GDP, but against the formal sector, that's the formal side of the economy. That's what they should do.
They should look beyond the papers.
Thank you.
And
Thank
just
you.
go down to brass tacks. Now, thank you very much. We'll very quickly take a message here on Twitter at Smooth91FM. Ayo said that the watery and empty response of the House spokesperson is a sign that National Assembly has lost it. They are a clog in the wheel of progress. Nigerians must impeach most of them in 2019. Bola Supreme sent a message here, freshly pressed 91. It says, when the executive uses the cashback constituency projects and the lawmakers start summoning everyone and refuse to approve pending appointments, then PMB will become a villain again. The only solution is to elect responsible and competent people to the National Assembly. We keep it moving. This next story is from ThisDay. Delayed results. ThisDay newspaper says delayed results. 17 insurance firms get 68 million naira. NSE NAICOM fine. National Nigerian Stock Exchange (NSE) has fined 17 insurance firms for the delay in their submission of the 2017 full year results, according to this report. And they said they've approved the report of 32 firms, and 10 were still at the various stages of approval. Let's go into this.
Yes, so clearly, the whole insurance, and I mean proper sort of structure, Ugo Dre, you'll be able to contribute to this, I'm sure, is quite new to Nigeria. It's very contemporary in nature. I mean, in fact, forget contemporary, it's just new. It's just nouveau. Exactly. It's very nouveau to us. And it will appear that the people who we also put in charge of managing those insurance companies, that is the insurance companies themselves, also are not very, how should I say, they're not very comfortable, and they don't know the meaning of you have to file your report by the 30th of June 2018. Well, guess what? They didn't. And they've now been fined. They've been fined
5,000 every day.
60 million. Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Every day.
It's actually very legal and within the purview.
Totally. And one has to celebrate the NSC, especially. This is when I like the NSC in particular, when they put their foot down with things like this, because we have to put some sort of structure and regulation and accountability, and they are supposed to be monitoring. And somehow, some of the things that NICOM are not able to do, and the likes of AMCON and some other sort of financial police bodies, they're not able to do. You find the NSC doing it, or they did seem to have let us down during the time of Rwanda, you remember. But I like it when they do this, and this is very smart. So anyway, it's in the paper, so let's name a shame. Don't go screeching your cars if it's your insurance company. Mutual Benefits Assurance, Great Nigeria Insurance, Niger Insurance, African Alliance Insurance PLC, Sovereign Insurance, and apparently the worst of all is Universal Insurance Company, who clearly just don't know how to read. Because if they did, they wouldn't be paying 51.4 million to SEC.
Yeah, just to chip in though, Unique, for example, actually doesn't even exist as a company again. It's just a share.
so how they got?
Oh wow!
That's interesting. Thank you very much, Yusuf. Next story here, but before we go to that, let's take a message from Michael up on YouTube. It says the university did the right thing by letting the professor go. This can constitute a reputational risk if they did not allow him go. That's actually true. Next story from ThisDay newspaper. Naira gains as CBN injects $210 million into the foreign exchange market. They said the Naira appreciated to 359.5 Naira to a dollar on the parallel market yesterday, compared with 360 to a dollar as it closed on Tuesday. What's that change affecting?
All right, I'm just going to be quick on this. So what's going on is that the CBN was a little bit 2-3 weeks ago, they were a little bit worried that the exchange rate might be under pressure.
Yeah,
and that's because of what's happening in the global economy. So the CBN did two things quickly. They instructed banks and the BDCs to make sure that they have forex available for Nigerians to buy. People who are traveling,
Yeah.
BTA, so that there is no form of scarcity. And then they also converge the exchange rate that the rate that the BDC sell FX with that of the banks. The banks, it was actually cheaper to buy, from the banks.
From the
against
banks,
BDC. So the BDCs have been asking for that for a while. So they basically converge.
So it's actually on the level playing field.
Yeah. So it's the same now. So the same rate you get in the bank, same rate you get
That's awesome.
in the BDC. And then the CBN has also been pumping, dollars as well into injecting liquidity into the market, because a lot of foreign investors have been, scared because of, trade war happening with Donald Trump and co. and
Yeah,
China.
exactly. Because
So foreign investors have been exiting. So if they're exiting, and that's a lot of pressure on our on the exchange rate market. So the CBN is stepping in and also pumping in money. So that's why you're seeing this.
What is the major factor that made this possible? Because I'm wondering, like, why hasn't this happened since?
No, but I mean, the exchange rate has been stable, right? And it's all pricing, it's all demand and supply. I don't think this 359 is sustainable. Actually, it will probably go back into 360 or 361. But the fact of the matter is that it takes somebody else to step in and provide liquidity to ensure that the exchange rate is stable. If there's no liquidity, then exchange rate will depreciate.
That's right. Kudos to CBN. The newspaper has this next story. Actually, Daily Times. Nwaoboshi trial begins as firm urges Buhari to probe Delta killings. The trial of the Senator Peter Nwaoboshi, who's of the PDP representing Delta North constituency, commenced on Wednesday at the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, Lagos, just as the law firm petitioned President Muhammadu Buhari, asking him to order a probe over alleged involvement of the senator in the Delta killings in 2013. Funmi.
Yes, trial has just started. We wait to see what happens in respect of that. But I do want to make a suggestion, because when you go through the story, most of the allegations are in respect of his companies, or companies in which he's a director.
Yeah.
So I think I've mentioned this once before, but I think it's come to a time in Nigeria where we need to consider asking any person that wants to vie for the position of a member of the House of the National Assembly, not to be engaged in any form of business, to resign from all directorship.
Just drop your positions, face the politics.
Face the politics. Because we have active businessmen in Nigeria, where corporate governance is extremely very low. That is the time when they're able to have access to ridiculous loans, partake of ridiculous contracts, perhaps
be lured into corruption cases, or necessarily diverting funds.
One of the charges, which has not yet been proved, one of the allegations in respect of a loan transaction one of his companies got from Nexim Bank. So it has come to, and then we have a situation where they are practically, at least as we can see, not serious with the National Assembly work, despite the huge sums they're paying.
Yeah.
So I think it has come to a time where we need to look at that very seriously. If you want to vie for the position of a member of the House of Representatives or the Senate, then
quit all your positions.
Quit everything.
Yeah.
Face that.
Thank you very much for me. Final story, we'll just touch on this very quickly in a few seconds. Punch newspaper has this report. So the headline: PhD scandal, UNILAG disclaims Osun Poly rector's B.Sc. The University of Lagos Akoka says that the embattled rector of Igbajo Polytechnic, Igbajo Osun State, Akinola Olaolu, did not obtain a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from the institution, as he had earlier claimed. Ms. Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf, what do you think?
It's a total disaster. These are the people that I'm in shock. You've got to, every parent must read this story. In fact, every stakeholder in Nigeria must read this story. So you've got the rector, his name is Akinola Olaolu, apparently has been going through the whole career with fake university degrees, and he even claimed to have a PhD. Well, allow me to just go, because we've got to be very, very quickly. So the previous guy was there. His name is Tani Mowoke. He was the rector. And then this other guy, Akinola Olaolu, came in as his deputy. However, 8 months into the job, they're asking him to verify all his certification, to provide it. He couldn't provide it. So they start doing their investigation. Anyway, allow me to say this is the end. This really, don't crash your cars, but this is the state of Nigerian education system.
Where executives...
Mr. Williams Abiodun Ajayi, the legal advisor and the secretary to the Board of Trustees, Oduduwa University, said, this is a quote from him: "I know the rector very well. Fake results indeed. I know Mr. Akinola Olaolu very well. He does not have any certificate. It is not only his PhD that is fake, even his B.Sc and the MSc Economics are both fake. It was because of this that he left Oduduwa University Ileife. He has only B.Sc in biology. He should be arrested immediately. Alas, what to do?
Thank you very much. Round up with this message on Twitter from Andy. Andy says, why are we surprised on the issue of building ranches? Paying amnesty to vandals in Niger Delta has set a precedence for throwing money at anyone who spits fire. And Lagos, thank you very much. A special thanks to our analysts in the studio. At CCOG Lagos is our handle. That's Missy Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf. Find at CCOG Lagos on all social media platforms. At Ugo Dre of Naira Metrics, the same name, the same handle, at Ugo Dre. And Funmi Odude at Funmi Odude on Twitter and every other platform. Thank you very much. Lagos, coming up next is at 8:15. We talk entertainment inside of the grapevine. And this is Smooth 98.1 FM.
The headlines.
Thank you. We got through.